We are live. We are live. We are live. Hey guys, welcome to the show. What we're going to do today, we're going to make a vegan shepherd's pie, right? So I've already pre-made some of the stuff because I'm trying to limit my time with you to 30 minutes, right? So on the stove over here, we made potatoes. We cubed up 5 potatoes. We put enough water to cover them. We put them to a boil. We cooked them for 15 minutes. When we were done, I leave the skin on. I mashed them. That is ready to go. So we cut out 15 minutes for that. Also, we cut out 20 minutes for the lentils. We used dry lentils. This is a quarter cup with 2 cups of water, done for 15 minutes. We first brought it to a boil. And then we simmered for 20 minutes, right? So we've also got us 2 carrots, diced, chopped. We've got us 1 stalk of celery, diced. We've got so far 6. This recipe calls for 16 ounces. I don't know if that's dry weight or wet weight. This is 6 ounces according to the package. That's a lot, it looks like. We're going to use a cup of frozen peas, right? We've taken arrowroot, 2 teaspoons arrowroot with 2 tablespoons of water. We've combined those. What is arrowroot? So if you're vegan, or if you want to stay away from flour, maybe arrowroot is something that you can use as a thickener if you're making sauces or gravies and stuff like that. So we are making a vegan shepherd's pie. We are doing it without. They're asking for a vegan butter. We're not using vegan butter because to me that is oil. We're in the show. We're staying away from oil. We're doing it hardcore. We're hardcore. We are doing it forks over knives. No added oil. No added salt. No added flour, white flour. No added white sugar, right? So we're trying to use mainly plants, and sometimes we get away from that. Sometimes we use noodles, and sometimes I try to opt for better than just straight durum wheat noodles. We also explore some of the different grains and stuff. We try to add in some whole grains and stuff like that at times. And just getting in ideas of how you can add some dishes that are plant-based to your diet. Do you have to do it all the time? Not necessarily. I'm vegan. You don't have to be vegan if you're an omnivore. If you're somebody who eats meat occasionally, and I would suggest that if your only diet is ribeye, this isn't the channel for you, number 1. Number 2, you might want to back off of that, in my opinion. This is my lowly opinion. Am I the healthiest man in the world? No. Am I trying to get healthier so that I live longer? That is what I am trying to do. So let's get into it. We've already done the first instructions. Preheat your oven to 350. Right now it's at 241, so it's not quite there yet. But what we're going to do is we're going to get on the stove top here. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of water and 2 tablespoons arrowroot. We already did that. Make 1 recipe of mashed potatoes. We already did that. Boiled the lentils. We did that. Add oil to a pan. We're not doing that. We're putting the chopped green onions. We're supposed to have 4. I didn't do that yet. So we've got some green onions. We're going to take 4 of those. We're going to chop those up. We're going to put those in a pan. So we're going to try to separate out. Maybe we'll get another cutting board for this. I'm going to move these mushrooms over to the side here. We're going to get us another cutting board. We're going to go ahead and chop those onions as quick as we can. Notice I have not cleaned my knife yet. It still has some of the we might need to sharpen that knife. Notice that it's not cutting all the way through. So we're using 4 onions. We're adding carrots and celery, and we put those on the stovetop for a couple minutes. I'd like that a little bit smaller, I think. I've talked to you before a little bit. The more uniform you can cut your vegetables and stuff, the more uniformly they will cook, I like different consistencies in my dishes. So sometimes I cut at different thicknesses. And I think that that is cool. I also love a big fat knife. Why do I love a big fat knife? I think that it's a little harder for me to cut myself. And being vegan, I don't want you to see my blood all over the table. So we're going to go ahead and turn the stove top on. I talked a little bit about how I like gas. I'm going to put this on at full force for right now. We're going to turn that down in a little bit. We're going to go ahead and put our green onions in there. Then we're going to add us some celery. My stove is at 350. It's ready to go for the rest of this stuff. I've got a tiny bit of water. I don't use oil when I'm cooking here because I get enough oil with other stuff that I do. I would also suggest that forks over knives, maybe something that you look into if you're worried about your health. I'm a cardiac nurse. I see a lot of people. I have seen a lot of people die from cardiac disease. They say it's still the #1 killer in America. So my suggestion is know your blood levels, and I think that if you can eat more vegetables, more stuff like that, the lower your cholesterol can come down, especially the LDL. That's the one that they say is the worst. So we're just going to keep this moving a little bit, make sure that it doesn't get too black. We're going to take that down a little bit. Then we're going to look and see what the recipe says to do. I'm going to try to trim this down a little bit so I don't burn those too much. Then we're going to add in frozen peas. A cup of frozen peas. Let's go ahead and just rip enough in here. Maybe. Look at that. This is trying to test my resolve. We got a knife. There we go. Let's get it started. We're going to put what I think is about a cup in here also. All right, so we're going to stir that around a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of pepper in there, I think. I'm going to put, oh boy. We're going to need to get a new splatted spoon here. Got another one in the background. I'm going to grab that. We're going to go ahead and turn the heat up a little bit. We're going to stir this around a little bit. So after we've done that, we're going to let that stir to combine, add in chopped mushrooms, and set the timer for 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and get our mushrooms. I've just left those on the cutting board. Once again, I need a folding cutting board to make this a little bit more smooth. When I do this on the show, I keep talking about that, I keep not doing it. So I'm trying not to get the mushrooms everywhere in the bucket. We're going to let those cook down for about 5 minutes according to the recipe. There's a lot of water in mushrooms, right? These are finely chopped. It said 16 ounces. I've got 6 ounces here. I'm going to chop up a little bit more as we're going. These are portobello. We may add white mushrooms. There's a very good chemical, phytonutrient. I like to talk about phytonutrients, right? So these are some things that you can get out of vegetables that you can't out of meat. You can't get phytonutrients out of meat. We're going to let that cook down a little bit. We're going to use probably about half of the white button mushrooms also. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut those while we're talking. And what I would love to do is invite you to teach me a recipe. Do you know an amazing vegetable-based recipe or fruit-based recipe or nut-based recipe? Or it's got a lot of that. So once again, I'm trying to coerce you into eating a few more vegetables, right? So that is my goal here. That's what I'm trying to do. And if I can do that, that is kind of my purpose on this show. getting you to try some vegetables. Maybe even when you go to, let's say that you eat at fast food, maybe you find some place that has something that you can eat that is mainly vegetables. So when I go to Chipotle, I love to get their vegan. I get mainly just all the vegetables, right? So I get the grilled vegetables, the fajita vegetables, if you will, instead of meat on mine. Now, the caveat here is they use oil. Most places are going to use oil when they make something at a fast food place. And maybe oil, a certain amount is okay, but what I would suggest is if you can start doing some recipes like I'm doing here without oil, I think that it's only going to be better for your health. So once again, I'm going to just chop up what I've got here on this table. Then we're going to put that in the pot. Also, we're going to let that cook down. I'm going to put the timer for about 4 minutes because it's been going for more than 4 minutes. And I'm going to just shut up here for a minute. I'm going to chop. I lied. I'm not going to shut up. I'm trying to get this done as quick as possible because that is already cooking. I don't want that to cook too much. Once again, like I said, I like things that have different consistencies, different. So some of the mushrooms are cooked down a lot. Some of them are not cooked down a lot. So once again, I think that there are some phytonutrients that get cooked off by heat, some that don't. If you're into broccoli, broccoli has a very amazing component, phytonutrient called sulforaphane. The more you cook it, the more you get rid of that. So if you eat it raw, or if you add mustard back to it after you've cooked it, you will retain some of that sulforaphane. So if you just throw some mustard powder on it, or if you reserve some of the uncooked broccoli and throw that in with the broccoli, these might be some strategies or tactics that you can use to maximize the sulforaphane that you're getting from your broccoli. Cruciferous vegetables, these are super important, super good for you. Those are things like broccoli, cauliflower, vegetables like that. The alum family is super good for you. What is the alum family? The alum family is garlic, onions. Garlic is amazing for you. I would encourage you to eat more garlic, fresh, minced. I mean, do what is convenient for you. You see me on the show sometimes using the pre-minced garlic, and my goodness, if it's convenient, do it. If you've got some time, make some time on your weekend to cook with me. Maybe you can find a recipe and just cook along as you're going. So we're going to try to get this. I'm going to let that cook for about we're going to put the timer for 4 minutes. We're going to see what that looks like at the end of 4 minutes. I'm going to come back over here and stir on occasion, but I apologize for putting my back to you. I used to have my niece who'd come on here and cook with me. Made it simpler. What I would love to do is invite you. Maybe we can do it virtually. You can teach me a recipe, and you can cook it together with me on the show. Let's stop the mark. Yes, so I am going to get better at that as we go. So here's something that I would love to tell you. I would love to have you on my show here. Teach me how to make a dish that is got the flavors of your culture. What is your culture? That's like where you came from. Maybe you weren't born in America. Even if you were born in America, there's a good possibility that your parents didn't come from America. Your grandparents didn't come from America. Do you know the flavor profiles of a certain culture? I would love to have you on the show and teach me something. We can do it virtually. Maybe I'll have you come in my kitchen with me, right? If I trust you. Can I trust you? So anyway, like I said, we're going to keep these down to about 30 minutes. And So 5 minutes on that. Then we're going to cook the mushrooms until the pan becomes dry. We're going to add soy sauce, vegan Worcestershire sauce, tomato paste. All right, let's get all of that stuff ready to go. We're going to use a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, a tablespoon of tomato sauce, and a tablespoon of 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. So I like low sodium because all of those things, typically, if they're made in America, they are high sodium. And tomato paste, right? So we're going to use a tablespoon of each of these. So in a few minutes, we're going to put all of those in there. So here's our tomato paste. What do we got? We got 2 seconds. I love the tomato paste that comes in the little tubes. I think that it's usually done better, usually in Italian. So, tablespoon of tomato paste. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. I've got my tablespoon. Is it an exact tablespoon? No. 1, 2. Soy sauce, done. Worcestershire sauce. It's got some balsamic vinegar, some other stuff in here. We're going to do a tablespoon of that into our pan here. All right. Now what are we going to do? Let's look at the recipe. Once again, I usually modify recipes a little bit. Once again, there's a lot of recipes that are vegan that use oil. On this cooking show, I do not add any added oil to any of the recipes, even though they ask for it. So now we add the roux, all of the spices and the roux. Here's our little roux. This is just arrowroot and water. It's kind of coagulated here, so I'm just making sure it's all combined really well. Pouring that in there. Okay. Then all the spices. So basically, these are going to be all my other spices. These are our spices for this recipe. We're going to use some rosemary. We're going to use some thyme leaves, and we're going to use some basil. All dry ingredients. We're going to put those all in. I think they're a teaspoon each of all of those. This is my teaspoon. It's a little bit wet, so you may have this kind of stick to the spoon. Let's turn our timer off, making beeping noises back here. Let's see if I can just pull this top off. Make this a little bit easier. One. I think that was my basil. This is my thyme. This is my rosemary. Quarter cup of water. The cooked lentils. Oh my goodness, we've never opened this one. Good. Let's start getting some rosemary in there. Awesome. And last but not least, our lentils, about 2.5 cups. There's supposed to be some nut milk in here also. I don't see that. Maybe that was supposed to be in our mashed potatoes. We're going to add a quarter cup of water. I got 2/4 cup. Not a lot. We're going to let that cook for about so basically until it's thick. It's already smelling amazing to me. I think maybe the milk is supposed to be in the mashed potatoes. How much milk? Half a cup. So I'm going to go ahead and just put the almond milk in here. I may need a little bit more. I'm going to mash that a little bit more. I think that's what the recipe called for. We're going to see how these mashed potatoes turn out. Let's add a little bit of. I leave potato skins on. If I'm happy, that's how you like it. Peel your potatoes if you would like. Put everything kind of back together here. As we clean up a little bit, we're going to let that just thicken up. And then we're going to put everything into a medium casserole dish. We're going to put that in the oven for about 10 minutes. Let's see how this is looking. Once again, like I said, I just want this a little bit thicker. I also don't want it to burn. We're going to turn the heat down a little bit. It seems like it's starting to get a little bit too hot on the bottom. Once this gets a little bit thicker, we're going to put this in the dish. We're going to put the mashed potatoes on top, and we're going to bake it for about 10 to 15 minutes, mainly just so it's a little bit brown on the top. So we're combining this really well. Once again, like I said, I turned the heat down a little bit because it seemed like it was getting a little bit too hot on the bottom. Once again, we try to keep these shows about 30 minutes. We're at 22, 23 minutes here. What I'm going to do is on the Facebook page, Popping the Plant Flavor, we're going to go ahead and put pictures of this recipe. If at any time you have some questions or would like to reach out, if you would like to cook with me, I would love to have you on the show. Please, please, teach me how to cook. Am I the greatest chef? Absolutely not. Once again, I want this just to cook down so that this is not quite as wet as it was. So we're just trying to get a little bit more of the moisture out of this. We're going to let this go a few more minutes. I'm going to at least pop this in the oven while you're still here with me. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and put the mashed potatoes on top. Shepherd pie is basically, a real shepherd's pie is going to use meat. We don't cook with meat, at least while we're on the show here. This was 5 potatoes once again, in order to make this amount of mashed potatoes. We're going to just smooth that out a little bit. I'm going to eat the mashed potatoes potatoes. We're going to pop that in the oven for approximately 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to let it brown. Then this one will be done. All right, guys, you have a great day. If you have any questions, I would love for you to connect with me. Facebook, Poppin' the Plant Flavor. YouTube, Poppin' the Plant Flavor. We're going to set the timer. We're done with the show. Thanks for joining us. Let's cook. Let's be healthy. And you have a great day. Talk soon. Talk soon. Where is my mouse?